Hey everyone, happy Thursday. I hope you've had a great week. Christy and I were just talking about Parker. So if you went there, I'm guessing you may still be on a little bit of a high, especially if we went to the private party and you got to meet Gene Simmons. It's always so interesting. Our fangirl or our fan guy approach or thoughts about people. And I just have to I just think it's really interesting. And I think it's so cool that Parker chose somebody who represents a lot of our childhood. He was a really big deal back in the day. So how cool for all of you that got to do it. So Christy, thank you so much for joining me today. And we're here to share with all of you and personally invite you to the Women's Leadership Retreat. It's April 11th through the 13th in beautiful Gulf Shores, Alabama. If you've never been there, I'm telling you, you're missing out. It's a really great place, which is why I chose to have it there. We're having it at a state park. Part of it is because I just love the beauty that exists within being outside, and nature is a big part of my life. And so the people that I serve, it's also a big part of their life. So that's why we're having it there. Pretty untraditional, which I think really matches a lot of our spirits as human, is to not go against the grain, but to go march to the beat of our own drum. So Christy, again, thank you so much for joining us. And let's talk about, what are you bringing to the Women's Leadership Retreat that docs will learn about and be able to take back into their practice to help really just calm a lot of that fear that we have about compliance and billing and money. And it is true, like, we have to be mindful to do things the right way. So what will they be learning from you?
Well, we are going to touch on compliance and really the importance of having that foundation in your practice, because newsflash, we all chose to work in one of the most regulated industries within this country. Two, we have a responsibility to our patients to make sure that we're protecting the integrity of healthcare. But the really interesting thing that most doctors learned when we talk about compliance is that the more compliant you are, the more profitable you are. Because a lot of the things that are being done in offices that are not compliant are actually causing you to lose a lot of revenue in your office. And the bottom line is, we want every chiropractic office to be profitable, because that is how you serve more people in your community.
I love that. Let's go deeper on that. How connect compliance with profitability?
So a lot of the things that, a lot of the ways that offices are being non-compliant is in the way that they offer affordable care to patients and having these crazy discounts. And a lot of the rules are surrounding, like, how you charge for care. And there's this thing called market value. And unfortunately, nobody ever said, hey, this is how you determine your market value. You don't just call the chiropractor down the street and say, hey, what are you charging for an adjustment? There's actually algorithms, there's all this data, and you can log in online and see what it is and start charging market value. And that's so important, because we never want the rest of the world to look at us as like, well, I go get my nails done, and there are so many chiropractic offices that don't even charge as much as my manicure or my pedicure. How do you stay in business? You paid a lot of money for doctor to be your first name. You have this huge mission to help keep your community healthy in a very, holistic and natural way first, right? And so how do we stay compliant and not offer crazy discounts, lose all of this money, and then struggle in practice? Because when you're struggling, you're not serving your patients. You limit how you can serve your profession or serve your community. And it just puts unnecessary stress. And when you're in that state of stress, you're just not doing what it is that you intended to do. So we're going to talk about that. What is that market value, and determining your market value? What is your cost of doing business? Like, every time you walk into a treatment room, what is your break-even point? And not because we want you to break even, but what we want to make sure is you're not charging less than that. And that when you are offering affordable care, that you do it legally and compliantly, because it's way easier than doing all this crazy stuff that most offices are doing.
You bring up so many really good points. I remember early on in practice, my coach and I went like through this of, like determine your profitability. And I I realized like it would actually be saving me money if I just sent them a couple bucks and told them not to come in.
Yes, that happens in a lot of offices.
Right?
I mean, let's be honest. I mean, everyone in this country right now is feeling the impact of inflation. And yet most chiropractic offices that I have talked to, I mean, I've been I've taught at 3 different events in the last couple of weeks. And most of the doctors I talked to, I'm like, well, when was the last time you evaluated your fees? It's been years.
Oh
Years.
yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, this is something as a business owner you should be doing every single year. You know your expenses are going up. I mean, everything from rent on an office space to the paper you put on your table. So you have to make sure that you're keeping up with that. The grocery store sure doesn't feel bad when they're charging me double for eggs what they were charging me 2 years ago, and they're incrementally going up every single time.
Yeah. And I think also this idea that it's our duty, our responsibility, and our obligation to make care affordable. Like affordable to who?
Well,
Right?
that would be a sliding scale depending on where you are and who you are. The example I actually just used with somebody the other day was, we talk about the mindset of consumers and patients because our patients are consumers right now is they are more likely to invest and spend money in things that connect with them on an emotional level and a mental level and the things that they want, right? Nobody needs a Stanley Cup. And yet, a couple of weeks ago, there was a line outside of my Target to get a special edition hot pink Stanley Cup, right? That's a $40 cup. I think that's $40. I don't have one, so I don't know. But like, they don't have any issue paying for a $40 Stanley Cup, but you're concerned that they won't pay for your adjustment. So I think the issue doesn't come down to what we think is affordable. It's how are you framing it so that people want what you have to offer.
And that's all positioning too. We've also done a really good job positioning chiropractic for chiropractors.
I would agree with that. It's interesting. Before I started working in chiropractic, so my husband is like, he has been getting chiropractic adjustments for as long as I can remember before we even started dating. And he always tried to talk me into it. He is the worst salesperson and referral source ever. He did not do a good job. And I wouldn't go because I was terrified of, and this was before chiropractic was on social media and TikTok. I was afraid of being adjusted because, again, he was a terrible referral source. When our son was born, we got into an argument in labor and delivery where I threatened to have him kicked out because he wanted my baby adjusted in the delivery room. And when my son was 3 is when I went to work for a chiropractor. Although when I interviewed for the job, I didn't know it was for a chiropractor, but went for the interview. And within a month, I got my first chiropractic adjustment. And now there was so much I didn't understand. There's so much I didn't know. And even though my boss doesn't own the chiropractic clinic anymore, my family is committed to chiropractic care. I mean, this is something we pay for out of pocket. It's in our budget. We go on a regular basis. Like my son doesn't even remember a time when he wasn't getting adjusted. Even when we were foster parents, my foster children got adjustments on a regular basis, and we paid for that out of pocket because, well, their Medicaid did not cover chiropractic, so, but it's that important to us, and it is that important to so many people in the population that we can't focus on those people who won't make it a priority. Like, I don't need to sell you what chiropractic is. The people who are very committed to health and wellness and want to make this a part of their life, they absolutely will. And this is a hot topic. It's what everybody's talking about on social media. Maybe not chiropractic, but being healthy and all natural and doing things in a more holistic way, where chiropractic is strongly positioned, but we don't want to devalue it in the process.
Yeah. And remember, everyone, that price is what is paid and is determined by the seller. Value is what is gotten and is determined by the buyer. So we don't get to tell somebody else what is of value to them. if I give you $100 bill for my chiropractic adjustment, I'm saying what I'm going to get in return for that $100 has more meaning to me than what that $100 has meaning. Like it has more value. So I also think that we get ourselves into a bind and really create a lot more stress for ourselves when we feel like, well, we have to create the value. Value is personal. And I also think that there's always room in chiropractic for people who are just getting started. And what I mean by that is maybe as a consumer right now, I can only get my head around, okay, I've made my life up until this point has been a lot of chemicals. And that's what I was brought up with. That's what seems real to me. And now I'm willing to take that next step to be like, okay, I keep having these headaches. What I've been doing doesn't work. Now I'm going to start getting adjusted. My friend from work said it works for her, so I'm going to give it a go. And maybe that's where they start. And I think it's really important for us to open up the possibility of being on the journey with them,
I
of
agree.
starting there. And maybe they come and go and they come and go, but every time they stay a little longer, they learn a little more. This individual feels our love and our acceptance and our appreciation, and they feel seen in their journey. And so I just, I've never really understood why we have this idea that only serving wellness people is like the utopia of chiropractic practice, when like meeting someone where they are in pain is such a beautiful gift. And being able to help them see like your body has the ability to heal from this. It will take time, and I'm going to be with you every step of the way. So I think that that's also such a beautiful thing of where compliance comes in as well. Like this idea that, oh, people only want to use their insurance. That's okay. Like, that's okay that they have this thing that they've been paying for. And now they're saying, like, hey, I have this thing I've been paying for. Can I use it in your office? And the, like there's so much with languaging, like, Garrett Gunderson talks about words cast spells, and words matter. So you use the benefit of insurance here in this office. The relationship, however, is with your insurance company. Like, that's the program that you chose, and whether or not it covers all of the care that me as your chiropractor can see that you need based on your health history and the findings of your exams, my experience helping countless others just like you, and what you told me you wanted. Like, none of that's probably known to your insurance company. So if it's okay with you, we'll use them as part of the leverage for payment. And then there's going to be a portion that you're responsible for. So being able to do all of that without stress and worry, am I doing this right? Am I compliant? Am I going to be up for audit? Like that just feels good. And like Christy was just saying, there's also a direct correlation between compliance and profitability.
Oh, absolutely. And that's one of the things that I think about with insurance too, is it opens up the door to bring people into your practice, right? Because like I want to say that it was like 89%. I think you and I had this conversation, is like we pay a lot of money for insurance, hundreds. I have a friend who's paying thousands of dollars a month for insurance. So when you're paying that, you want to find somebody who's in network because, well, you're going to get the benefit of what you're paying. So maybe they do come to you because they're in pain, but they stay longer because of the other things. Even when I got my first adjustment, it was for headaches. I was on daily migraine medication, and newsflash, I was still getting headaches, right? I haven't been on that medication in 15 years, and I was on it from the time I was 16. 16.
Mm-hmm.
Never dawned on me that it lessened the pain, right? But chiropractic, now I rarely get a headache.
Mm-hmm.
And so, that's what helps bring it in the door. And it's okay that insurance doesn't cover all of the care that you provide, or that it's limited benefits. One of our best referral sources in the clinic was an insurance company who was our like across the street neighbor of the clinic. And it only paid like 6 to 8 visits. Well, most people needed more than that. And ironically enough, we were able to get them to finish with care, because how you feel being pain free, all of those things. I mean, it is an emotional feeling for people, depending on how long they've lived with pain. And in America, so many people live with pain on a daily basis. And when you can help to alleviate that or even eliminate it in those cases when you can, it makes a huge impactful difference on those people. But it doesn't take a $29 new patient special, which violates rules and regulations. Again, we're healthcare, you're doctors. And that I told somebody, I was like, if you saw a social media ad for a $39 vasectomy, would you be like, oh, I'm all over that? I don't know anybody who would do that.
Yeah, I hope not.
Right? That's a scary,
Yes.
scary thought. And I get it. That's a sensitive area, but we're talking about your nervous system, your spine. Like, this is just as important to make sure that, again, uh, if I saw that special, I'm like, what's wrong with that? What's wrong with that place? And we have to frame ourselves that way. Like, what would you think if you saw that as a consumer or a patient? Um,
Yeah.
And then again, it's not compliant. You put yourself at risk. It can cost you so many hundreds of thousands of dollars. So yeah, we're going to talk about those rules and regulations. And we're going to rip that Band-Aid off right from the beginning. And then we're going to start over from scratch. And it's like, how do you build this very compliant fee structure within your office so that you're profitable, you're compliant, you eliminate that additional stress and risk so you can sleep at night, but then you can run a practice that's healthy.
Yeah. Yes. A healthy practice, building healthy practices and healthy chiropractors. Absolutely. Well, what would you like to say as we wrap this up to women who are watching, whether you're a student or in practice, even if you're a CA and you want to come and, most of the time the CAs are the ones, right, that are dealing with the compliance issues and the ones that are doing the fee presentations and whatnot. What would you say to them if somebody hasn't bought a ticket yet?
Buy the ticket. All that anxiety you feel when somebody says compliance or talking about fees, I know it's like right there in your chest. We're going to help you to eliminate that anxiety so that when you are running a compliant office, it's compliant. You have that confidence when you have that financial conversation, that you're confident in what you're saying because you're doing the right thing, not just for the practice, but for the patient as well.
And I want to let all of you know, this isn't the convention, the seminar to come to that Monday. Then you have to figure out everything you just heard. Like, the schedule is slow enough where you'll be able to pull Christy aside and be like, hey, this is what we've got going. Can you help me see what isn't compliant? Right. And we have 6 hours of roundtable discussion. One of those roundtable discussions, Christy, it's just going to be Q&A. So bring your questions, specifically yours, so that when you go back on Monday, you're ready with your compliant fees. You're ready and know that you've got all of these things wrapped up and you have no questions left. There's going to be, I'm taking everyone through a lot of personal exploration as well of not only our limiting beliefs, but why am I doing what I'm doing? How do I establish a culture in my practice that is something that I love coming to, that my practice members love coming to, that my team is bought in? And it's not going to just be like, Barb talking. Like, we're going to be diving in and doing individual and group exercises so that you don't have to figure out what you just learned and how you're going to implement it on Monday. And not only the Monday after, but what is that going to look like in October? What is that going to look like next January? Like, Garrett Gunderson talks about no false starts, meaning like, don't play tag with success. These are principles and policies and a way of being in your life and in your practice that is going to last. So no false start. So come and join us. We are you don't have to be a boot camper to come and be a part of our tribe. We welcome all of you. And I'm super excited, Christy, to spend time with you. And thank you so much for saying yes and taking on this part of the event that is so crucial to practice success.
Well, I am so excited. And I think the best part of doing this, I am so excited about the roundtables too, is because what you're going to find out is all this stuff that you've been fearing or have anxiety about, it is so much easier than you think. In fact, it's going to be, implementing it is easy, and it's going to make being in practice so much easier. And you're going to be like, wow, this was way better than I thought it was going to be. And I love that. And then being able to have that roundtable time to talk about your practices specifically, because you know what, everybody there, they have a different practice, a different demographic. They practice somewhere else, and that's what we're there for, is to give you the guidance that's going to help you to be successful.
Nice. I love it. Well, look in the comments, grab a ticket, come and join us. It's a beautiful place. We're going to have lots of fun, be connected, be a community. There will be time for downtime. I know most of us don't factor that into our lives. And I am very much about downtime and rejuvenation. So it's built into the system. So Christy, I'll see you soon. Thanks to all of you. Have a very wonderful rest of your day. And thanks for joining us. See ya. Bye.
Bye.